So, winter has arrived in Canada, at least in our area. Unfortunately, it's still the fall. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and it's Monday, November the 19th, 2018, and this is my weekly vlog, and I hope everybody had a good weekend, and I hope there's some things to look forward to in this week coming. Today's a special day in my family because it is my sister's birthday, and that's my youngest sister, my only sister, my baby sister, who's, let's see, I got to think about her age. Subtract 8 from 61. That gives it, she's 53. Whoa, getting up there. Okay, so as you saw in the little teaser at the beginning of this video, we have had snow. And yeah, it's Canada, but contrary to popular opinion, at least in the part of Canada I live in, we are not covered in snow for 10 months of the year. It just feels like that. We had snow this past week. Some areas got a lot more than we did. We didn't get a lot, but it stayed. And right now it's just kind of icy and slippery and slushy, that kind of thing. It's because of our proximity to Lake Ontario. It sort of modifies our climate here, makes things a little bit warmer by the lake, so we don't get as much snow. There's something called lake effect as well, which basically on the other side of the lake, they get more snow than we do. However, I don't want to see it. I used to love it when I was a kid. I don't love it anymore. I don't like having to shovel it. I don't like having to drive in it. I don't like walking in it. I don't like it. But I live here, so got to put up with it. Okay, let's see, current projects. Okay, I'm working on 2 projects at the moment. They're both classes I'm taking. One's the modern quilt. I have given you little sneak previews of that. This past week we started putting the blocks together, and we'll continue that in the class on Wednesday. The Sydney bag that I'm making, which is a satchel, kind of complicated. I've made totes before, but that's why I took this class, because I want to learn how to make something a little bit more sophisticated, and this one is definitely that. Been having a little trouble with my presser foot, getting it through 3 layers of denim, but I think I have solved the problem on that. I watched, well, Walter found a YouTube video that shows how to use a special foot that I have that actually compensates for the thickness of the material. So I'm going to try that later this morning, and hopefully that will do what I want it to do, and away we go. If it doesn't, I'm going to have to get the instructor to show me what to do. So those are those 2 projects, and I did another project over the weekend, a really quick one. I made my mother a Christmas bed runner, just to decorate up her room when we get a little closer, once we get into December and start thinking about decorating, although I know some people decorate already at this time of the year, but I don't do it until the first Saturday in December, and I don't get that elaborate. But I thought for her room in the nursing home, she should have something pretty. And I've got some other decorations that I'm assembling for her as well for her room. But this is the bed quilt. I did some embroidery on it. And I don't think I can get it all in the shot, but there you go. And you can see the Christmas bells. And I quilted it as well. It's a very simple quilting. It's just a wavy line. And this was basically made from some leftover strips from some other projects. And this is the back. Probably hit my microphone and made all kinds of noise, but this is the back. And the binding, I did not do a traditional quilt binding. I did simply what they call a pillowcase binding. I really like doing pillowcase bindings because I'm lazy. Well, not so much lazy as bindings are not an easy thing to do on quilts. And, you know, I kind of like the pillowcase binding because you put a stitch around it, top stitch, and it looks like you know, that it's got a binding on it, full binding. So anyways, I've made that for her, and as I said, I'm making up some other decorations. A couple of wreaths I bought at the dollar store and some hangers for them. She has a little wardrobe closet with 2 doors, you know, that go in, and so I thought those would look nice hanging on that. They're a little sparse though, so I'm going to add a few like fake flowers and Christmassy things into it as well, just to fill them out. It's one of my other projects on my list of things to do. I have no lack of projects, I can tell you that. Okay, so moving on to the YouTube channel of the week. This is called The Secret Life of Vivian, and actually it's subtitled Vivian Tries. Now this lady tries out different as seen on TV products, and well, watch the video. This week's YouTube channel is called Secret Life of Vivian. I really love this channel. At first I thought it was a bit stupid, but the more I started to watch it, the more involved with it I got. Essentially what this person, Vivian, does is she has a whole series of segments called Vivian Tries, and it's where she goes out and purchases a product, one of those ones as seen on TV type of products, and she puts it to the test. She gives you clips from the television infomercials about the product, and then she tries out what they say it will do, and then she rates it. And it's very eye-opening, and it shows you that you must be buyer beware, because a lot of times most of these things she buys that she tests fail, and she gives it 1 Vivian head or 2 Vivian head, etc. She's also very funny, and she's entertaining, and she goes to no lengths to put these products to the test. So if you want to watch something that is entertaining, humorous, but also has an element of reality to it, then I would suggest you look at Secret Life of Vivian. So if anything, Vivian Tries is at least entertaining, but it is kind of interesting how she compares what they tell you the product will do in the TV commercial, and she tries to duplicate that, and how badly it fails. But I think we all know that anyways, but it's kind of fun to watch her do these kind of things. So the link for Vivian Tries, The Secret Life of Vivian, is down below, as is the Stephen and Walter Live. We had some problems with Live again. I don't know what's going on. Well, first problem was kind of funny. My iPad dropped off the counter. Didn't break it or anything, but right there at the beginning of the broadcast, everybody went for a little fall. So that was kind of funny. But then near the end of the broadcast time, and this is the 3rd time this has happened to us, so we've got to look into it, the video part has been freezing. You can still hear the audio, but the video freezes. Now, there have been some videos, Walter did some research, and people have been complaining about this, something to do with buffering. And there's various solutions to the problem, but the bottom line seems to be that this is a YouTube problem again. And YouTube just did some changes, I noticed, minor ones it seems, at least when you connect to it with an iPad. So one idea is to completely, before we do the broadcast, to completely shut down the iPad and then bring it back up. And that may clear out the buffer in the iPad if that's what's getting full. I know I have a fair amount of stuff on my iPad, so I might have to at some point turn around and get rid of some garbage that's on there and make up more space. We'll see. So I'm sorry for those of you that watch us faithfully that you're getting this. We're working on the problem. We really don't know if it's a problem at our end or it's a problem at YouTube end. I suspect it's at the YouTube end, but we don't know. So please just bear with us. Darn thing freezes too when we're in the most unflattering position as well. Our mouths are usually cocked over here, and our eyes are half closed or whatever. Okay, so the link to the latest Stephen and Walter Live is below, as is a new episode of the Idiot Quilter, where I share some of my essential tools with you that I've bought recently. And the book of the week is also listed below. So that brings me to what's pissing me off this week. I really didn't have anything because everything's pissing me off in the last little while. And if you watched the Stephen and Walter Live yesterday, you'll know what I mean by that. Yes, it has to do with my mother. But another thing that pisses me off is yesterday, Sunday, we decided to go out for breakfast. Now, we do this on a weekend every so often, but we end up going to the same place all the time. So we've been out exploring other alternatives because this other place, the service really sucks at it. Well, guess what? You can't find in our area a decent place to have breakfast. They either their oil tastes rancid in one place that they did their home fries in. Another place, they don't do poached eggs. Okay, I usually get poached eggs, okay, because I like poached eggs. Well, another place didn't do poached eggs. Another place, the P-mail was, which is what Americans know as Canadian bacon, but P-mail bacon was not right. I mean, the one thing you don't want in P-mail bacon, you'll know it's good quality, if when you cook it up, you don't have this white pussy stuff come out of it. Sounds gross. It is gross. So yesterday we ended up back at this Egg Smart place, which are a chain. They're franchises. The food there is okay. The service sucks. And it's not the waitress's fault. It's the cooks. Okay? Now, what I'm about to say is going to make me sound racist. I'm sorry. I don't mean this to be racist. What I'm saying is it's a cultural thing, I think. I don't know. A lot of these franchises in our country are being bought up by newly arrived immigrants, Chinese, people from India, Russians, that kind of thing. And that's fine and dandy. They're, they've come over, they're starting up a new life, and, they're contributing to our economy, creating employment opportunities, things like that. However, at this particular franchise, I'm not sure of the national background of the guys that work in the kitchen part, which in the way this restaurant is set up, you can actually see the kitchen part way. But they are the slowest and most disorganized cooks I have ever seen. We went into this restaurant at about 10 after 12 yesterday. We did not get our lunch until after 1 o'clock. Now, I don't mind going into a restaurant and having a leisurely meal, all right? I don't like this in and out kind of mentality that a lot of restaurants have. I'm not going for fast food. I understand. If it's a McDonald's, a Burger King, that kind of thing, yeah, you want it fast, okay? But then there's such a thing as too slow, and this place is it. In fact, we were sitting at the table with menus for probably 20 minutes before anybody came over and asked if we wanted a coffee. In fact, we had to flag down one of the waitresses to get a coffee. Now, are they understaffed? Well, there seem to be 3 waitresses on. It's not a huge restaurant. It's a busy restaurant, but it's not a huge restaurant. And so and those girls are, or those ladies, are cleaning off the tables. They're bussing the tables as well as taking orders and bringing them out in the whole bit. So they're busy, 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 busy. But it's not their fault for the service. They're doing the best they can. It is the fault of the cooks in the kitchen. They just can't organize themselves. I mean, come on. It's a place that serves mainly eggs. Eggs, bacon, toast, home fries. How difficult is that to get out? Okay, yes, I did have Eggs Benedict, and Walter had French toast. But even still, it's still basically bread and eggs. And we were watching them because we were sitting in a spot where we could see very clearly into the kitchen, and they haven't got a clue what they're doing. Now, bring it back to the part I said may sound racist. These gentlemen that are behind there are from someplace else. I don't know where. It could be Sri Lankans, because we have a lot of Sri Lankans are in our area, and they seem to operate pubs a lot. I'm not sure of their nationality, but what I am sure of is they're operating on a different timeline than those of us that are native to North America. You can criticize North America for the fact that we are always go, 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 go. It has to be done yesterday kind of a thing. Yes, we have a very fast-paced lifestyle in North America for the most part, and we expect things to move at a certain speed. Other places in the world have a more leisurely attitude about time. They take more of their time, probably will live longer than most of us because they have a slower pace of life. However, they're not there, they are here. And you're in a business like a restaurant business, and it's not fine dining. We're not talking here a place you're going because in the evening you're getting all dressed up and you're having like 5 different courses or anything like that. We're coming in to get some toast and eggs, okay? So why over an hour to get something like that? And it wasn't just us. There were all kinds of people in there, people that had been seated way before we got there, and they were still waiting for theirs as well. And again, they aren't cooking anything that complex. So I don't get it. Here's the problem, and why I'm pissed off though is, where else do we go? Everybody advertises they have breakfast. Sure, I could go to Burger King and have breakfast. I can go to Subway and have breakfast, but I don't want to because I don't want a fast food breakfast. I don't want some round, eggy looking thing slapped on an English muffin with some piece of round ham or bacon or something like that. You know, like I don't need a McMuffin or any of the other versions, or a croissant or what's the latest one? Tim Hortons. Oh, they have something that's between 2 Belgian waffles. I just simply want to go into a decent place that has your basics, and they bring it out in a timely fashion. Now, we used to have an excellent place not far from us, but it was in a mall. It was called Mama's. It was great. I'd been there for many, many years, and we used to go there for breakfast, and it was excellent, and it was inexpensive too. And things came out, you know, relatively quickly and whatnot. Well, unfortunately, the mall that they were located in, they tore down, and Mama's is no more. And we have not been able to find places like that since. So, you know, really, I think, ooh, sorry about that. Hit my ring on the tabletop. You know, there's definitely a market for breakfast places, but come on. Let's pick up the service here. Let's give, and you know, ironically, after all of this, I still left a tip. Well, like I said, it wasn't the waitress's fault. So really, I hope, and you never know where those tips go anymore either, because, you know, primarily I do the tip through my credit card, like through the, you know, what do you call that? The Interact machine or the debit machine kind of a deal. And you never know who gets that. I know in a lot of places what they do is they take the tips and they put them in all one big pot, and at the end of the day or whatever, they divide it up equally among the staff. But at the rate these guys are putting out the food and that, and how they manage the place, I wonder if the waitresses are really getting their fair share of the tips too. I suppose you could get around that by just simply walking up to one of the waitresses and just slipping her the tip. But, you know, then again, that might cause problems amongst the other waitresses there or whatever, you know. So, I don't know. But anyways, that's what I'm pissed off at this week. I mean, if that's my biggest concern in life, I don't have that much to be worried about, do I? Okay, moving on. Product review. Nothing. I have nothing new. I haven't bought. Well, I have bought things, but they've been like fabric or thread or that kind of stuff. But I haven't bought any new toys. Now, I just found out, I got an email from my local scrapbooking store, Class Act, that all of my newest Tim Holtz oxide inks have arrived. That's going to cost me over $100 because there was 12, well, there is 12 last colors in the line. I don't even use that stuff anymore, but it's force of habit. I have, everything's Tim Holtz that I have, a lot of it, and I have all of his inks in every form that they come in. So I guess, you know, I might as well finish off the collection. So that'll be new, but that's really not that new. So yeah, nothing new to show you. All right, what's that bring us to? Book review. Okay, so in my stash of books, I came across this one. It's a nice looking book. And obviously I marked pages that I want to look at some point in time. I don't know if I ever looked at them or not, but it's called Origami Card Craft. 30 Clever Cards and Envelopes to Fold by Elaine Thomas. So basically, if you like origami, this is a way of using origami in, you know, a decorative and useful way. Fairly clear instructions with lots of diagrams, because I don't know about you, but for me, I always struggle with origami. So I need to see pictures on how to do it. But you can see there's quite a few things in here. It's a nicely bound book as well. It says on the back, bring your handmade cards to life. Origami Card Craft will revolutionize your handmade cards. Master paper crafter Elaine Thomas inspired origami projects are easy enough for any beginner and give cards new life with pop-ups, fold-outs, and classic origami cranes. If you've tried stitching, stamping, piercing, and gluing and are ready for something new, origami is the answer. With Karen's careful instruction, you'll be folding and creating in no time. And I'm just take a quick look here at what pages I had marked. Oh, I think I did this one. This was kind of cute. It's a little pocket album with a little envelope. So that's kind of cute. I did make that one time. And something here, it's a little bit more arty, called the Love Knot, which, you know, with the right papers and things, that could make a very nice wall piece. Frame it. And what else did I mark in here? It's been a while since I've looked in this book. Okay, if I can get the pages turned. Oh, I did make one of these pinwheel cards. So you see, these have neat ideas for cards as well. So yeah, now let's talk price. So I looked it up on Amazon.ca, and the link to this book is in the show notes below. But here's the price. Now, originally this sold for, in Canadian, $25, American $21.95. I did look online and I did not write it down. What an idiot. Okay, well, I do remember that it was slightly less. It hadn't dropped severely. I think it may have gone down to about $18 and something for it. And I think there may have been some used copies that you could pick up for less than that as well. So, an interesting book. And if you like paper folding, this might be the book for you. Okay, moving on. Inspiration this week. Okay, this is something I've done in the past. I haven't done it in a while. But it's what I did actually originally when I first got the very first sewing machine, that the brother that I bought at Costco and that I've given away to the school now. I originally bought it to do paper crafting, to sew paper. And it does, and you can use any sewing machine will sew paper, it's not a problem. You know, and making tags by putting collage pieces together and sewing over top of it with decorative stitches. But you can combine fabric with your tags to create more of a mixed media look as well. You don't need to run out and buy expensive fabric for this. It's a good way to use up scraps of both paper and fabric as well. So you might want to give it a try just for something different, especially as we move into the holiday season. You might want to make your own tags for gifts and things like that. You could also do this on the fronts of cards and things like that. It gives texture to it, and there's a lot of beautiful fabrics out there. And oftentimes you can go into a fabric store and they'll have scraps or remnants left over that you can pick up cheap. Even Walmart sometimes has stuff like that too. So, you know, you don't need to spend a lot of money to make something that's got a lot of bang with it. So that's an idea. And keeping on that theme, I thought what I would do this week for in my drawers is actually show you some of the larger tags that I have made over time and just talk a little bit about the technique that I use. So here it is. So what's in my drawers this week? Well, this week I want to talk a little bit about the versatility of making tags. Now, this is a bulletin board I have in my craft room, and on it I'm displaying some of the various tags that I have done over the last few years. You'll notice that there's sort of a common theme here. I have a lot of butterflies in my tags. That's because I like butterflies as an embellishment. And you can see there's a wide variety of backgrounds on each of these tags. Of course, I've used some Tim Holtz products in many of them. You can see some of his more famous die cuts, Man with Umbrella, that kind of thing. And you can also see some of his stencil work in the background as well. I've even done really elaborate die cuts for some of these tags, as you can see here. And I've even incorporated a picture, like I almost did a tag that looks sort of like a scrapbook page right here with this picture. I also find inspiration for doing tags when I want to use up some of the scrapbook paper I've had laying around, and you can do some fussy cutting or put it through your electronic cutting machine and cut out some of the images. Sometimes I just get really crazy and I use every product in my arsenal of mixed media products to create a tag. So you can see the various things that I have done here. The reason I like working on tags this size is because it's just a large enough space to allow you to get, more things on it than a standard size shipping tag. And also it allows me to, almost create like a scrapbook page, as I said before. And I do have what I call a tag album of sorts, and I'm going to switch over to my other camera and show you what that's all about. So what's in my drawers this week? Well, this week I want to talk a little bit about the versatility of making tags. Now, this is a bulletin board I have in my craft room, and on it I'm displaying some of the various tags that I have done over the last few years. You'll notice that there's sort of a common theme here. I have a lot of butterflies in my tags. That's because I like butterflies as an embellishment. And you can see there's a wide variety of backgrounds on each of these tags. Of course, I've used some Tim Holtz products in many of them. You can see some of his more famous die cuts, Man with Umbrella, that kind of thing. And you can also see some of his stencil work in the background as well. I've even done really elaborate die cuts for some of these tags, as you can see here. And I've even incorporated a picture, like I almost did a tag that looks sort of like a scrapbook page right here with this picture. I also find inspiration for doing tags when I want to use up some of the scrapbook paper I've had laying around, and you can do some fussy cutting or put it through your electronic cutting machine and cut out some of the images. Sometimes I just get really crazy and I use every product in my arsenal of mixed media products to create a tag. So you can see the various things that I have done here. The reason I like working on tags this size is because it's just a large enough space to allow you to get, more things on it than a standard size shipping tag. And also it allows me to, almost create like a scrapbook page, as I said before. And I do have what I call a tag album of sorts. And I'm going to switch over to my other camera and show you what that's all about. So you can see what I have here is what I call sort of my tag book. It's not actually an album, although it could be made into one. It is just a bunch of larger tags that I haven't displayed on my bulletin board that I have put a ring through, and they hang in another spot. But I just want to point out some of the different things you can do with what you have probably lying around now. First of all, these tags that I'm using are the ones by Delusions. They're the extra large tags. But you don't have to buy tags this size. You can simply cut out your own from cardstock, any size that you want. And you can do it as simply as just using a pair of scissors or using your die cutting machine or whatever. I like to put together elements that come from various areas. It's kind of a mood thing. If I'm in the mood to do something in mixed media, but I don't have a lot of time, or I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, then I'll do a large tag, and that kind of gets me, well, satisfies my urge, I guess that's what you would call it. So here I've used a combination of some of Tim Holtz's paper dolls, and I've used some Mike Deacon digi downloads in the background. This was a Halloween one that I did, and if you look at it closely, you can see I sort of blacked out the eyes to give these characters a little bit more of a haunting look. Now here's an example of one that was made up of a combination of packaging in the background. If you look at it closely, you will see some packaging for some art supplies. Also, Tim Holtz's paper dolls again. I love those paper dolls. They're so versatile. They go on many things. This little piece here that I've aged, and I think I've featured this in a previous video, is simply one of those plastic tops that hold, like you get from Costco when you buy large quantities of something like salsa or mouthwash or whatever. And I just aged it with some other products and used it on the tag. So again, the tag sort of grew out of what the elements might suggest to me. I never go in with much of a plan. I just grab various elements and see what I can make from these. Here's another one that I mentioned, using up some of the paper packs that you might have that you've still got bits and pieces left over. Well, this was a graphic 45 pad, and I just fussy cut some of the images from it. On this particular tag, I went for a more dimensional element, and I had some veneer laser cut pieces in my stash that I just basically stuck down, layered them on top of each other, and went over them with some paint and some gold rub and things like that, whatever I had laying around. This one is more of a stenciled kind of tag. Sometimes you want to try out some new stencils. Don't really have a specific purpose for them. It's a great idea to create a tag out of it. So I had this stencil, and I was playing with some other stencils in the background, and I think I was playing with some of Tim Holtz's oxide inks in the background as well. And I had found this image in a magazine, so I cut it out and sort of distressed it a little bit, and I thought it made a good companion piece. Again, these things just evolve as you get working on them. Another one, butterflies, of course. And on this one, I was experimenting with background techniques. So I believe these are the oxide inks, and I was experimenting with how they react to water when you put the water on it. And I cut the butterflies out of a piece of cardstock that I was putting oxide inks on as well. So tags are a great way to experiment with backgrounds. Here's another one where I was experimenting with a new stencil in the background and some more of the oxide inks. And it's getting a little thick here. And here too, you can see where I've used some die cuts. Again, some more, I'm not sure which kind of inks I used here, but just some stencils and things. And this one, the last one, is one that was inspired by some Mike Deacon digital downloads that I cut out, and I just played around, and I was using, you can't tell of course on the video, but this is textured in the background. And again, I was experimenting with using actually some punchinella, or what they also refer to as sequin waste. I had gotten some from somebody, and I used that in the background, but I also used it as a stencil with some texture paste through it down in here. So if you're in the mood to do a mixed media project, but you don't have a lot of time, or you don't want to invest a lot of time in it, you just have this urge to create, I strongly suggest that you do some large tags. And if you've got a ton of stuff that you want to use up, this is a good way to do it. You can extend this idea further. Right now, we're moving into the Christmas season, so you might want to make personalized or very arty looking tags for your gifts. It would make a really nice display under your Christmas tree. And if you check out Marta's Small Art, not Marta, but that's her name, but it's now let me think about it. Mari Small Art, I believe it is. She just did a whole video on making really nice Christmas tags, and basically she's doing the same thing as I'm doing here, except her work is a lot more sophisticated and much more lovely than what I'm showing you here. So anyways, that's what's in my drawers this week. Tags. So tag making can be a lot of fun. It's also very achievable in, an hour in a lot of times. So when you've got that need to do something in mixed media, but you don't have a lot of time, but you want to, feed the need, then make a mixed media tag. It's easy. Okay. So, update on my mother. Well, I'm not going to give you too much about that. If you're interested and you want me to bore you to tears, go to Stephen and Walter Live, because I did a whole rant about my mother, and it is a rant because you know that I've had it. But she's playing a new game now. Just very briefly, like I said, you can go on to Stephen and Walter Live and you can get more details about this if you're interested at all. She's playing at something. She's throwing up. She's not sick. She's starting to refuse to go down for meals. I don't know how this is going to play out in the nursing home. I'm not sure what she's playing at. She's figured out how to use her phone because she's called me a couple of times to let me know she's throwing up. What am I supposed to say? Oh, Mom, that's terrible. Let's take you out of that place and bring you to my place and sit you all up in our guest bedroom and bring you your breakfast in bed every morning and the whole... No, that's not happening. It just can't happen because I can't manage her. She can't walk, so she needs to have people who can get her up, help get her dressed, help get her toileted, help get her to food, all that kind of stuff. So anyways, I'm not going to go into it anymore because I've said a lot on the live broadcast about it. I've told you a lot over the weeks. Thank you for being patient with me. And I'm worn out now from it, so I don't want to talk about it anymore. So let's move on. Let's talk about my quilting and embroidery classes. Now, both Walter and I did a little bit of a rant on some things that we've been experiencing in the classes that we are taking at our local sewing store. And I just want to reiterate what I reiterated on Stephen and Walter Live, that this is not a criticism of the lady who owns the store or of the instructors. It's a criticism of the situation they have recently found themselves in, which is an explosion of new clientele because 3 fabric stores in our area have all closed out. So they're it primarily. And it's just becoming overwhelming, I think, for the owner and the other ladies that work in the store. And this is filtering down to how it affects the classes that we're taking. So I did talk a lot about that on yesterday's live. So again, if you're interested, check out the live. Links below. Embroidery class is going along, but it's a little frustrating. And I'm going to show you this. I am not proud of this at all. It started out okay. Okay, we were embroidering what was going to become a wine bag. So, my idea of humor. So that part worked out. But it went downhill from there. So this is the finished bag. Okay? This is not good. The reason it's not good is, I've made tote bags before, and this is essentially a small tote bag. It has a lining. Okay? I'm not happy with it for a couple of reasons. One, it's too long, but that was my fault. This top part, I don't know if you can see it, these handles. Okay, I tried to do a satin stitch. This material, this black material, just frays like crazy. So I lined the bag and I tried to go over this with a satin stitch. And I have never really used satin stitch on my sewing machine except when it's set up to do machine embroidery. So I'm doing this actually, by hand, and it went through about 4 times around there, and it's all rough here at the top. I mean, I know that's my fault. I didn't do it right. Then I had to put these stupid things in, and okay, they're in right now. I wouldn't guarantee how well they're going to hold though. You get something heavy in here because the way you had to cut the hole and everything. I've never put grommets in anything before, so this was a first as well. But what I'm PO'd about is the instructions we got for making this. We spent 3 hours embroidering this. Did it take 3 hours to embroider this design? No. Why did it take 3 hours then? Because we were 45 minutes into the class before we found out what we were supposed to be doing. Okay? Some people got the email she had sent out the night before telling us what to bring. Others of us, including me, did not get it because she had her email address, but she'd put it in the wrong spot, in the wrong address book or whatever. So we didn't know what we're supposed to bring. So that meant somebody had to cut me the material that I needed for this in the store. She told us that there would be a pattern available, and actually she told us she was going to give us this material and the garments for it and have that all ready for this class. She told us that the week before. That didn't happen. So I had to wait for someone to cut me the material for this. There were no garments. I had to buy these. Okay, I only needed 2 garments. I had to buy a package of 10 for $11.99. Okay, maybe I'll use them in another project somewhere down the line, but really, if I had been teaching this class, what I would have done is I would have pre-cut the material, put in 2 garments, and charged the participants $10 or something like that. Store would still make money, and it would be more reasonable in terms of what people were putting out for this. These classes are expensive, and that's something else that kind of gets my goat a little bit. I paid $90 for this course, and I still have to buy material. So by the time I'm done this course, it's several $100s. Because you need stabilizer, you need this, you need that, you need threads, you need the whole bit. Okay. So I expect a fairly high level of organization. And I mentioned this again yesterday on live. So I don't want to dwell on it any further. But the pattern for this. She says, well, I gave you the pattern last week. I only have 3 left. No, we didn't get the pattern last week. So she goes off, she photocopies the pattern, it's 1 page, and charges us $2.50 for it. Okay, that's not what I really have a problem with. What I have a problem with is the pattern itself. It's not a pattern. I don't know if there's a page missing in the instructions or what, but they are not very clear. I have made tote bags, as you know, before, so I could figure some of this stuff out on my own. But there are some people in my class who have not sewn anything. They're taking an embroidery class, not a sewing class, and they haven't got a clue. So it's going to be fun next week when people come back and see who managed to finish their bag. Now, I'm not proud of this bag for a lot of reasons. And am I going to make another one like this? No, I'm not. Not right now, okay? This is done. When I go to a class, I look at it. Whatever I'm making may not be perfect, but I'll learn from my mistakes, and that's why I'm taking the class, to learn. And I have learned from this, but it was the level of frustration. There didn't need to be that level of frustration. There wasn't any reason why those instructions couldn't have been clearer. And they weren't instructions written up by the store. They were instructions that the store bought online or something, because I went to the website to see about this. And yeah, so we'll see. I know that there's several people in the class that are getting real grumbly, and I hope they don't blow up at the instructor. As I said, it's not so much the instructor as the situation. It's just she's got too many logs in the fire here. Everybody wants her, customers, store staff, everything. She's multitasking. Nobody can multitask. Walter said yesterday that multitasking, it means doing one thing well or doing 2 things badly or poorly. Doing 3 things, even worse. You know, you hear the term multitasking all the time. No. There's no such thing. And for some reason, a lot of women think they're good multitaskers. You know, there was an old commercial way back in the 70s on TV where this woman's saying, I can work all day and fry the bacon and look after the kids because I'm a woman. Okay, you're a woman, you do a lot of things, but no human being, male, female, or little green man, can multitask effectively. It's a myth, okay? It really is a myth. So, anyways, lately there's been a lot of frustrations in my life. I need a vacation. But I don't know when that's going to happen either, and that kind of frustrates me too, so whatever. Okay, so what else did we do? Oh, yes. We went to the art gallery on Friday night because they were having the official tree lighting for the city. And the art gallery is located slightly behind the city hall, and they have a big tree there that they all light up every year. So this year, as a fundraiser, the art gallery decided to sell tickets to see the tree lighting from a vantage point that has panoramic windows. The art gallery used to have a restaurant in it on the second floor. It hasn't been a restaurant for many years, but they use it for special functions now. But it has this wall-to-wall panoramic windows, great view of City Hall's property and the big tree. So they charge $20 a person, and they limit it to 50 people. They had a cash bar there, and they had food. The food was good. It was sandwiches of sorts and whatnot, much better than the food I've had there lately. But it was a different provider as well. And yeah, it was kind of civilized. So there we are, looking out the window, waiting for the tree to light up, and having a glass of wine and some food. Well, the thing was, they decided this year to do the tree lighting in the park that's a block away and you can't see. Now, they did light up the tree at City Hall. I think they lit up the big tree in the park and the one in City Hall at the same time. Not that spectacular. It's just a large string of white lights around this huge tree, and someone went at 7 o'clock, flick, and it came on. It didn't even, like, it wasn't even like you might expect it to go in layers, you know, and up to the top to the star. There isn't even a star on the bloody tree. But anyways, they also had vendors on the street. Now, that night was not the nicest night for being a vendor on the street because we had had snow earlier in the day, and the snow had turned to sort of rainish, sludgy kind of stuff coming down. It was dampish, but there were a fair number of people out there checking out the crap that people had for sale. I'm sorry, but it was crap. You don't get good street vending anymore. You know, do I need another piece of homemade jewelry? Well, do I have any homemade jewelry? I don't, because I'm not into jewelry. But, you know, and it's crap. They also had a holiday market. They called it inside the art gallery too. Now, the people inside the art gallery were a little bit more sophisticated in what they were selling. In fact, I saw one lady was selling, you know, bags, tote bags and that, but one tote bag design she had, well, she had two that were really interesting. One was made from the selvage on fabric. That's the part on the fabric you cut off, and it usually tells you the name of the fabric, the company that manufactured it, and it has little colored dots on it so you know what the colors are in the fabric if you're trying to match up other fabric to go with it. And that was kind of a cool use of selvage. Now, I had heard or seen something like this before, but now I'm going to save my selvage because I just toss it out usually. And the other thing was sort of a cooler bag made from packages of Kool-Aid that had been, you know, emptied out and opened up because they're foil on the inside, and they'd all been stitched together in this bag. So in a sense, it would make a really cool cooler bag. So I thought that was kind of neat. And there were some other things there that were a little bit more sophisticated. One guy does woodworking stuff, so he had, you know, some nice cutting boards and things like that. Another one did handmade pouches, and I was talking to her because I looked at the fabric and I said to her, so are you hand painting this fabric? And she said yes. And that's something yet I haven't tried, and it's on my list of things to try. But yeah, I thought it was kind of cool, and I was telling her about the place where I send some of my designs to have made into fabric, Spoonflower, on the web, and she had not heard of it. So she was going to look into it because I said to her, you know, once you paint it then you can scan it, and you can go into Spoonflower and make your own fabric, and you can actually sell your own fabric on Spoonflower as well. So she sounded like she was kind of interested in that. So anyways, that was what was going on, and I did take a very short little video of the evening, and I'm going to insert it right now, right here. Okay, so tonight is a special event here in Oshawa. It's the tree lighting ceremony, and we've got bird's eye seats to it because we paid a little extra to be able to come in here, enjoy some wine, have some food, and then later they will be lighting up the tree out there. And this is the art gallery that we volunteer for, but tonight we are guests, we are not volunteers. And Walter, what are you eating? Sandwich. Oh, it's full.
I'm eating broccoli.
Oh. Well, it's green. So, I'll maybe make some more video here when we see what the tree lights up, what it looks like. Okay, they just announced that it's about 10 minutes to the tree lighting. And Walter says, oh, it's just like when we were in Australia at the Sydney Opera House, except this is the poor man's version of seeing fireworks. Well, there's no fireworks, they're just lighting up a bloody Christmas tree. We'll see how this all works out. Meanwhile, there is wine, and that's always a good thing.
Ho, 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 and a Merry Christmas.
So they have a night market down here tonight, and there's all kinds of different types of vendors and things out here, and it's Central Park area over here with another big Christmas tree in the distance. Having fun, Walter?
Yeah, cold.
Yeah, it's a bit drizzly tonight. Oh, at the end of the line now. There's the big Christmas tree in the park. It's nicer during in the morning. We had snow, fresh fallen snow, but right now we just have slush. And it's kind of cool, damp, and a bit drizzly. So that's how we usher in Christmas in our area. So Walter just checked his phone for the weather, and it's 2 degrees right now, and that's 2 degrees Celsius. So it's still kind of balmy out here. Sorry to our Aussie friends, I know that would be frigid for you. But here, this is just like, okay, one step away from bikini weather. And of course they have entertainment. Yeah. Gangnam Style. Well, that's so 3 years ago.
Everyone aside.
This is exciting. Don't you wish you were here?
Lovely. Oshawa.
Yeah.
Land of Osh.
The Land of Osh. This is what the schwa is all about, as we call it. Well, it's festive. Okay, so what's coming up this week? Well, I've got a lot of classes to go to, sort out some things for my mother, and on Saturday night we are volunteering at the big fundraiser of the year at the art gallery called RMG Exposed. At that they have artwork, photography actually, art photography that has been donated to the art gallery for this event, and it's an auction. They also have a silent auction on pieces. And in fact, Walter and I went last year, and we bid on a couple of pieces that we did get. I looked over the pieces. You can go in and preview what's coming up. There is only about one that I saw that I might put a bid on that night. But we are essentially there working as volunteers. We're registering paddle numbers for the auction, and then Walter is going to be one of the spotters during the auction, you know, who's bid on what. And I'll probably be going around picking up glasses and empty plates and things like that, and just generally helping out where I can. They always have, it's an open bar, it's not a cash bar. They have like hors d'oeuvres and things, both hot and cold. And last year they had servers there coming around with things like sliders and different things on trays and that kind of stuff. It's a fairly sophisticated evening. It is their major fundraiser of the year. Tickets for this, if you're a non-member to the art gallery, are $60 a person, but that does include food and an open bar, and it's $50 if you're a member. So we did pay that last year because we were patrons of it, but this year we're volunteering there, so it's not costing us anything. I don't know if we'll get a drink out of it or not, but we're kind of working, so I guess we can't be taking part in the booze with that. So anyways, that's coming up, and that might be our last major volunteer effort for the year. As you know, I've been talking about changes that have taken place at the art gallery and how those have affected us as volunteers, and so what we're going to do now is possibly slowly drift into oblivion. What I mean by that is, if they need us for something specific, they know how to contact us. We'll wait for a call. I'm not going to throw myself into the place like I have in previous, because quite frankly, they did us dirt there. You know the whole thing about the education team being dissolved, and that's what I was principally on, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're just stepping back a little bit from it all. So if they call us and say, hey, could you do this and that, and depending on what it is, we'll probably say yes, but we're not putting ourselves out there. We've done a lot as volunteers in the few years that we've been there, and yeah, so we'll just leave it at that. Okay, so final note. Well, I just want to thank everybody for your private messages that you've sent me about my situation with my mother. You had some good suggestions, and a lot of you have been through this yourself before, and I appreciate you sharing your experience with me, because it makes me feel that I'm not alone in this, and a lot of you have like basically supported me in my efforts and that kind of thing. And it doesn't change the situation, but it does help me cope with it a little better. Makes me feel, that I'm not an ogre kind of a thing, and that, there's hope, I guess, at the end of this, all of this. And just thank you for your patience listening to me babble on about it, But what can I say? I wear my heart on my sleeve. So there you go. Okay, so I hope you have a good week, and I hope you have a good weekend coming up. And do check us out on Sunday. We'll be on our usual time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, that's all I've got for you today. And so have a good one. We'll see you all later. Bye-bye.